Well, let's move on to the 9 p.m. big debate lined up for you here on the Urban Debate. Now, after the first ever DDC polls that were conducted in Jammu and Kashmir, the State Election Commission, in an unprecedented step, has stopped counting of votes on 2 seats. Now, this has happened, and why it's unprecedented is because it's taken place because there were 2 women candidates who stood for elections, who are actually originally from the other side of the line of control, from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Now, the Jammu and Kashmir Election Commissioner, in a news briefing, actually said that India is a democracy and has a tradition of how to deal with people coming from abroad. These particular people from POK are a different set of people. He also mentioned that the State Election Commission has taken a very considered decision in giving the persons a chance to explain their status of citizenship. I have so many questions tonight on this story. The story really intrigues me. A 36-year-old woman, Sadaf, who's contested elections already for the council in Kupwara, for the DDC in Kupwara. She stood and fought these elections as an independent. She's an entrepreneur by profession. She originally belongs to Muzaffarabad in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And she's been in Jammu and Kashmir in our side of the LOC since 2010. She actually married one of the men who had gone over from Kashmir to the POK to train as a militant, and then at later point gave up militancy, put down the gun, and then they got married, moved here as part of the rehabilitation scheme of the government. Similarly, Shazia Aslam, who fought the elections for the council in Bandipur, again in Kashmir, again an independent candidate from Muzaffarabad in POK, who came and settled in Kashmir in 2010 after she got married to a man who belonged to our side of the LOC. So here are the questions that we need to discuss as the EC, the Election Commission, deliberates. And how did it come to fore? Because a man filed a complaint and objected to these women who are not originally from our side for contesting elections. Now, so obviously the first question one would have is, how are they allowed to contest elections? How are they allowed to campaign? How are they allowed to submit their nominations? What was the scrutiny that was done? How is it a problem now that the counting is taking place? Secondly, what are the rules and regulations? Especially for Jammu and Kashmir, where Article 370 just recently got abrogated. These are the first DDC polls. But these people, and many like these 2 ladies, have actually come from the other side, married into homes on this side, and are now living here as Indian citizens. So what are the rules for them? At what point can they vote? At what point can they contest elections? And why is it that the EC is taking so long? Where is the hitch and the confusion? I will also tell you in just a bit who that person was who objected and why he has objected. There is a whole story there, and I will come to that in a bit. But let me first introduce our guests. Mr. Kailash Vasudev, Senior Advocate with the Supreme Court, joins us this evening. Charu Pragya, spokesperson for the BJP. Najmu Saqib, additional spokesperson for the PHGD, which is the Gupkar Alliance. And Mr. Sanjay Hegde, Senior Advocate with the Supreme Court, also joining us this evening. But first up, I want to go across to Mr. T.S. Krishnamurthy, former CEC, who is with us this evening. Mr. Krishnamurthy, thank you for joining us. Please do help us understand the conundrum or the dilemma that the EC may be facing tonight over these 2 cases.
Now, first let me clarify that the State Election Commission is different from the Central Election Commission. This issue of how they were allowed to contest the election will have to be examined in the light of the JNK Panchayat Act and also the relevant citizenship provisions. If these persons are citizens of this state, then obviously there should not be any difficulty. But if they have been brought in under the rehabilitation scheme, as you mentioned, did they acquire citizenship or not? So the State Election Commission has to examine this. Now, how did they accept the nominations? Well, I can only say that the concerned district election officer has to explain why they accepted it if they had any information. But if there was a fraud, in the sense wrong papers were filed as citizens, and if they are not citizens, obviously action has to be taken against them for misleading the government servant. Now, whether the election should be allowed to, the counting should be done or not, I would say it is better to be sure about the citizenship issue before going ahead and allowing the counting to be done. Because if the counting is done, then you will know how many votes each candidate has got it. Now, suppose the person who is not a citizen of this country, if he has got certain votes, now how these votes would have gone to the others is the issue, because it is quite likely that these votes could have gone to some other candidate. So it is likely to be challenged in a court of law. So my own feeling is, if they are not citizens of this country and if they do not qualify themselves to be contesting the election under the J&K citizenship provisions as well as J&K Panchayat Act, the whole election may have to be called off and a re-election may have to be done. But this can be done only after proper inquiry.
Okay, but Mr. Krishnamurthy, if they have come to our country, married a person from Kashmir, brought back under a rehabilitation scheme that was put out by the then government in 2010, and in the last 10 years they have gotten the citizenship of our country, would there then be any problem at all for them to contest these elections?
If they are proper citizens of this country, obviously you cannot question their contesting the election.
Yeah.
Unless and until they are disqualified under the other provisions of the Panchayati Raj Act. Now, my own reading of the Panchayati Raj Act gives me an impression that if they are qualified to contest the election as citizens of this country, unless and until a mala fide is established, I have a feeling that you cannot object to their contesting the elections.
Okay. Now, how did this start? Because there was a complaint that was filed by a person who claimed that this is problematic and this is happening at a large scale, where women who are actually from other side of the LOC, from the Pakistani side, have married Kashmiri boys who strayed away at one point, perhaps to train to be a terrorist, and then came back. And now there are many of these. In one of these constituencies, this man claims that about 75 to 100 of these ladies. And they are now fighting elections, or this candidate fought elections and campaigned elections to speak up for these Pakistani brides, for the Pakistani brides who've come and settled in our country. So that's the other issue, why it was raised. But of course, I want to first address the legal issue and the constitutional issue there. Najmul Saqib, will you be able to shed any light on all those people who did come here in 2010 under the scheme that was given by the National Conference government at that point? Did they automatically get a citizenship, or is there a question mark on that for everybody?
Well, I think the particular candidate from Dragmula Kupwara, under question here, she has acquired permanent resident certificate of Kashmir. She has already contested an election. She has already voted for last decade. So, and the other candidate in Bankud Bandipora, I think, see, we have to look at the policy holistically. That policy was formulated within the ambit of humanitarianism. These were the people who wanted to rehabilitate, reintegrate within the larger country. So a government formulated the policy at that point of time for those people who wanted to come back, shun violence, accept the path of reconciliation and rehabilitation. Then government facilitated their entry into the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and accordingly they were somewhere recorded permanent residentship certificates, somewhere not. So the question now really is that the whole process has been stopped. The question mark is that if one candidate, as we have already seen, she already is a sarpanch, holds a post. So I think there is some sort of unpreparedness from the side of election commission. They should have been upfront about the candidate and ascertained all the details. But hopefully these issues will be solved. There is a due process. The election commission is, taking care of it. Hopefully it will be resolved soon.
Let me then ask Charu Pragya this question before I go to the legal expert. Charu Pragya, if somebody has already fought panchayat level elections, has already voted in Jammu and Kashmir, and has now gone ahead and fought elections, should there be a problem with that?
See, Tanvi, many a time there's these situations where complaints have been made, and it is known for Election Commission to investigate these complaints. Maybe counting stopped for one of those reasons. I do not consider myself an expert in any manner whatsoever in the way the Election Commission functions. In fact, I was learning quite a lot when our former EC was speaking, and I was trying to gather knowledge. But only coming from a pure political point of view, I want to make one thing very clear. Democracy is established in the state of Jammu and Kashmir like never before. And there is not going to be a situation where any citizen of India is dealt with in a manner which is discriminatory, in a manner which is unfair. And I am very confident in ahead, if there are any hiccups, if there are any roadblocks, they will be cleared out. And like I said, democracy needs to prevail, and that needs to be the most important thing which will happen.
Okay, of course, the state election commissioner has said that they will review some old SC orders and follow a balanced legal advice, and which is why they've postponed the counting for now. But we were trying to, look into earlier such instances to see if this was an unprecedented one or if there have been other instances, and we found two other examples. One example was of this lady Arifa, who actually settled in J&K again from Muzaffarabad in 2012. And she actually also fought and was elected unopposed from Khumrial, and Dilshada, who was raised in Karachi in Pakistan and then settled in J&K and came in from Muzaffarabad again. She also fought elections, DDC polls in 2018. So, Mr. Sanjay Hegde, let's begin with you. Is the question mark right now only because we need to find out if they are citizens, but don't you have to give your proof of citizenship when you file your nomination?
When you file your nomination, that's normally a declaration that you're a citizen. So beyond that, nobody, I don't think any candidate is asked to prove citizenship. Now, here is a case where the ladies came across from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. There is a conceptual problem out there itself. India says that portion of Kashmir is also Indian, and it's part of India. So what happens to the people who live there? And therefore, the correct legal phraseology under the Act is permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir. All those places, theoretically, the Act would also apply to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It's a different thing in that we cannot extend it in de facto. De jure, there may be a different concept altogether. The second question is, some other speakers have also spoken about it, was what were the terms under which the 2010 resettlement policy came? Did you give people who came along with the surrendered militants citizenship of India, or only a right of permanent residence? That nobody seems to be clear on. If they were in fact granted citizenship by any process, including naturalization, then, as Mr. Krishnamurthy said, there is no problem. But if, on the other hand, all that you gave them was a mere right of permanent residence, then if you take the position that Those who are ordinary residents of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir are not permanent residents of the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir, then there is a problem. So there are 3 or 4 conceptual and constitutional problems here, which could possibly be sorted out on a question of fact. Did the person acquire citizenship by naturalization consequent to the 2010 policy of surrender?
Okay. Mr. Kailash Vasudev, would you also like to come in on this? Because so we are trying to break it down to see, and I completely agree with Mr. Sanjay Hegde. Essentially, our country has always had the stand that, well, all of it is ours, and Pakistan occupied Kashmir is just occupied by Kashmir, but it's still our land and our country. So does that also complicate things somewhere?
Good evening and Merry Christmas to all of you. The situation in Kashmir has always been nebulous. Under the delimitation acts which apply to that area, we have 111 constituencies in Kashmir. 24 are not in our country. They are in Pakistan occupied areas. The dichotomy starts there. If you regard that part of the POK, as it is called, as a part of our own country, you have got to accept the fact that you have technically declared it to be a part of India. The second dichotomy, as pointed out earlier by Sanjay, also was, but they're not a part of India. We are at a different situation with this part of the world because they don't hold Indian citizenship. Therefore, in 2010, when the amnesty scheme came up, the question was, what do you give them? So you give them a right of permanent residence. Under the constitutional scheme, as also under the Citizenship Act, citizenship is a totally different concept from permanent residence. Permanent residence means you have a right to stay, and you will have to renew your permissions from time to time. Citizenship, you don't have to renew. Now, if you look at the provisions of the Representation of People Act, which regulates elections, there's a whole gamut of sections which deals with nominations, filing of nominations, scrutiny of nomination, and declaring them to be valid. There are certain set forms which come under the provisions of the RP Act. In these forms, the candidate is to make a declaration, which has to be scrutinized. I use the word scrutinized by the returning officer. He has to be satisfied that this particular nomination is in accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Constitution, and the applicable laws. That's what the law says. If he's satisfied it is so, he will accept the nomination and put up the name of that candidate in the list of candidates who are there. But now, to arrive at that finding, he has to look at the electoral rolls. In our country, unfortunately, electoral rolls are not the actual situation of the people on the ground. There's so many controversies with regard to the correctness or otherwise of the electoral rolls, which form the substratum for a candidate to prove that his name is included in the electoral rolls, so therefore he's entitled to vote. Here is where the electoral officer or the returning officer plays a very vital role. He has to examine the electoral roll. His hands get tied the moment the name appears in the electoral roll. He says, well, it appears. The declaration has come, so we accept it. If there is an objection thereto, it should have been taken at a point of time when the nominations were being scrutinized. Today, the objections have come after the polling has taken place. This is where the question of law arises. Can you countermand an election? Can you stay an election after the nominations have been accepted? Or do you set aside an election under an order of the court when challenged by the returned candidate, when the returned candidate is challenged? My personal opinion is, in a situation of this kind, where there's an essential violation of the citizenship conditions, you must examine it at the first go before even accepting the nominations. But then there's a time a schedule, there is a provision involved in the act that the nomination has to follow a certain date, a certain procedure. Here is where the Election Commission comes into the picture, especially in a disturbed area like Kashmir. If that is so, the returning officer has got an additional duty to verify the correctness or otherwise of the declarations made in the nomination form, which is form 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the various forms. So we have a situation where a nomination has been accepted, questioned before the declaration of results and after the polling.
Yes.
So here the Election Commission will have to take a call, and so will the Government of India in due course of time consider the nebulous situation with 111 declared constituencies, 28 or 24 not being in our system.
Yes, and I think I don't know how many people realized this when it was happening, of the extent of the repercussions we may see, which with the complaint that essentially just started off by saying, oh well, she's a Pakistani bride, she's made a group of other Pakistani brides in our country and they all want to talk about their own welfare. That's not okay with me. Look into this matter. I want to play out a small comment.
1 second, just
yes,
1
Mr.
second.
Vasudev.
When somebody marries into India, the provisions of the Citizenship Act come into play. After 1 year of marriage, you can apply for citizenship. I mean, it doesn't matter which gender you belong to. Once you apply for citizenship, your citizenship application is then considered on the basis of the provisions of the Citizenship Act and the Constitution.
And those were the same even for Jammu and Kashmir, all this, I mean, before the abrogation of Article 370, the rules would have been same for Kashmir
the same,
as well?
because 370, say Kashmir was given a special status. It was an integral part of India with certain special rights. You've taken away the special rights. So the general law will apply. It even applied earlier. It's not that the general law of elections did not apply to Kashmir, it did.
Okay, so let me play out this comment, because there is another aspect to this that I want to take to Mr. Krishnamurthy first, and then others can also come in. This is a comment from Soumya Sadaf, the candidate actually from Kupwara, who's now in trouble, or at least her future is unsure because the counting has been put on hold. This is what she had to tell us.
जब इंसान एक जगह से हिजरत करके दूसरी जगह आता है तो फिर मेरे ख्याल में जो जिंदगी स्टार्ट करनी होती है वो बहुत टफ होती है। तो उस वक्त हम लोगों ने बहुत सारी मुश्किलात का सामना किया। तो फिर मुझे गवर्नमेंट का यहाँ प्रोग्राम एक चल रहा है JKSRLM उम्मीद उसे कहते हैं, तो वो मुझे मंच एक मिला जहाँ से हम लोगों ने अपनी जिंदगी की दोबारा से नए सिरे से शुरुआत की। उसी में जब हमारी मीटिंग्स वगैरह होती हैं तो वहीं मुझे मशवरा दिया गया कि आप इलेक्शन लड़ो, तो फिर मैं सामने।
So this is not actually now. It's an older comment. It was made when she was campaigning and she was talking about how she took this decision, how they're part of this government program, and that's where the conversations happen. She's been very open, Mr. Krishnamurthy. This candidate has been very open about where she came from and the fact that she now lives here and she's married to an Indian and she wants to be part of this entire process. There was no attempt clearly to hide it. Now, is it then a case where we never thought about the minutiae of the law so far, or we just ignored it?
See, I think Mr. Sanjay Hegde has very beautifully summed up the legal position, and it was also corroborated by the other gentleman who spoke about the legal provisions. Now, all these matters, whether they informally came, they got married, whether they had been accepted for government schemes and they came under a rehabilitation scheme, all these pale into insignificance if the question of citizenship is in doubt. If they become citizens under this rehabilitation scheme, there is no problem at all. So this is to be inquired into by the Election Commission. Now that there is if a mistake has been committed, certainly the election can be countermanded, but we have to be sure that there are grounds for countermanding it. So I have a feeling that the Election Commission should, in a very short time, examine and take a decision whether the person is legally a citizen of India or not. As Mr. Hegde mentioned it, conceptually, POK is still part of India, but Do they have an Indian passport or a Pakistani passport is another issue that can be considered. So you have to be certain on the legal issue relating to citizenship. You cannot grant on mercy the citizenship just because they are part of a government scheme or they have been welcomed into India and things like that. The legal issue is the person a citizen of India or not? So that must be crucially settled and settled quickly. They cannot be taking indefinite time by holding the elections in abeyance. So they must take a decision and rule that if a person is a citizen, go ahead with the counting. If the person is not a citizen, the election needs to be countermanded.
Yes, but what is also very interesting, Mr. Krishnamurthy, is we have Mr. Najmu Saqib of the PAGD who is pointing out that one of these candidates has in fact earlier as well fought elections and won elections. So she's been part of the system for a while.
See, one mistake cannot correct another mistake. If what has been done in the past is wrong, it is wrong.
Yes,
but
no, I agree with you.
See,
Yes.
that's why I say the legal aspect has to be.
Yes, yes. No, I completely agree with you on that. My larger point
legally
being
the
that
person has become a citizen, fine.
maybe there is a systemic problem, and I'm not too sure if it is special to Jammu and Kashmir. I'm pretty sure actually it is special to Jammu and Kashmir. But Najmu Saqib, this lady has also responded and saying, well, nobody had a problem when I filed my nomination. They never told me this. They didn't even have a problem when I was campaigning, and everybody knows what my history is. This is only being brought up now and a complaint being written because my rivals are a little uncomfortable with the fact that I'm going to be winning. Now, is that what it is, or is there more to it, the fact that we don't know whether a woman who's lived in our country for 10 years was even given citizenship or not?
As far as I remember...
So I appreciate the arguments put forward by the contestants, but I think...
Yes.
Sorry. Please, Krishnamurthy, Mr. Go ahead. Please, sir.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the arguments made by the contestant. It may be a genuine case, but be that as it may, the legal issue of citizenship must be settled first.
Absolutely.
If that is settled, all other answers will follow.
Absolutely.
So I have just...
And if the returning officer made a mistake in accepting the nomination...
Yes, then there will have to be questions asked of the officer as well of how this happened. And I don't know if there will be a need to look into some of the other contestants as well and candidates as well, so we don't have more of these mistakes happening in the future. Yes, go ahead please. Najmu Saqib, you were making a point.
As far as my memory serves, the candidate has traveled to Pakistan on an Indian passport twice before. So, and I think that answers the question of naturalization. But also, I think there are legal luminaries in the panel. Obviously, they can speak about the legal aspect of it. It opens a can of worms. After having ascertained the credentials of the candidate, once you go into that process, so it's a very slippery slope after that. So I think certainly the legal luminaries on the panel, they will shed more light on this. But that's just what I had to say.
Mr. Sanjay Hegde, would you want to add to that?
Well, if she's holding an Indian passport, then there must have been, the normal assumption is that there must have been a grant of citizenship at some point of time. It may be that she is unaware of the exact mechanics under which a specific order naturalizing her was granted, or unless there has been a mistake even in the grant of a passport. That could also have happened. So it is best to first check in the official records itself of around 2010 whether there was any specific action taken to specifically grant citizenship to the lady concerned.
Okay, Charu Pragya wanted to make a point, and then I will go across to Kailash Vasudev. Yes.
Tanvi, I just wanted to say something about the Election Commission in India. Now, this is one body which is independent, autonomous, and has been doing a fantastic job. Ours is a country which is huge, diverse, geographically, culturally, and elections are happening year after year, round the year, in fact, somewhere or the other. The way they have handled every single election, every single time, has been exemplary, and we can only applaud them. So at a situation like this, which for me is unprecedented, of course, and which is making me learn so much about the way we conduct our elections, and this big debate about whether someone is a citizen or a permanent resident of our country because of the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, I just think one thing is for sure. We need to trust the way Election Commission will investigate this. We need to trust with the results that they come up with. And if it is found that everything is all right, the counting will continue. That's the point that I wanted to make.
No, that's all right. And I completely agree with you. I am trying to understand, firstly, how can this happen? And our experts have, given us options of how this may have happened. Secondly, what are the options with the Election Commission? And thirdly, why is it taking so long? If it is as a point about establishing the citizenship of somebody, it's as simple as verifying the documents that they may have, whether it's passport, or the permanent certificate that they would have been given. All right, it's going to take them some time. As long as it doesn't change into something else, as long as the Election Commission doesn't get caught, in the nuances which are there in clearly what this complainant is saying. Sant Kumar Sharma has written an elaborate story on a website. And Charupragya, I want to know if you or your party actually agree with some of the issues that he is raising. He says there are about 350 brides from POK side in Kashmir, and Sadaf wants to work for them to help them get basic rights. And he has a problem with that. Why does he have a problem with women who've married and come to India or to Indian side of the Kashmir, even if they are from Pakistan?
The problem is not about anybody getting married and coming to the Indian, there's no Indian side of Pakistan. There is Pakistan and India, and there is Pakistan occupied India. But the problem could be if there is an issue about security with regards to one of these people. Internal security has been an issue in Pakistan, and militancy has been a huge issue in areas in Jammu and Kashmir. POK has been created because of this entire issue. I think it is very fair for our government to take a pause to think about these things, because we are trying to sort a long-standing issue. Abrogation of 370 is historical, and it's going to restore a lot of prosperity to the valley as it should have been done ages ago. And it was a difficult decision for any government.
What we're talking about tonight. Let's not go there, please, at all. This is not about Article 370 or how you've managed to uphold democracy in Kashmir. This is about also me having a concern about what will happen to these women as this investigation proceeds, because this man is alleging that even under the 2010 rehabilitation schemes, there were 4 routes that were granted for people to come in from the other side into our country. And the route of Nepal wasn't one of them, which is what was used by these ladies. And if that is the thing, I don't know, Mr. Hegde, will we look at a situation where these women have to be sent back or thrown back to POK?
Well, I don't think that that is the remit of the Election Commission.
Yeah.
That would be an executive decision at a later stage. Strangely enough, there's one resonance with the Kashmiri flavor that I find here. This was that Chief Justice A.S. Anand, who was from Kashmir, had to deal with the celebrated citizenship case of Sonia Gandhi, where they after several years of being in the country, her citizenship, after being elected also, her citizenship was questioned. So there is some precedent for that. Of course, we know that there the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Anand did find that she had validly acquired citizenship. I don't know what the facts will be in this case. It would ultimately turn on the paperwork.
Mr. Kailash Vasudev, you wanted to make a point earlier. Go ahead, please.
See, what I was saying was the Election Commission is only concerned for the purpose of the election.
Correct.
You also have, interestingly, in Jammu and Kashmir, the old Jammu and Kashmir constitution, which still stands good. It has not been repealed to my knowledge. Now, in the interregnum, intermarriages between people staying across the border and this side in Kashmir have been plenty in the past. All those people cannot be possibly relegated to the position of being persons who are responsible for the violation of any security norms in our country. What is important and what is vital is to lay down parameters for citizenship, keeping in view both, because in Jammu and Kashmir, you can hold a Jammu and Kashmir passport and an Indian passport. These areas need to be attended to. If you attend to all these issues, 370 has gone. Eliminate the holding of passports under the J&K Constitution. Make it a standard practice that you must hold an Indian passport. You will find that all these things start getting sorted out. Second aspect, Election Commission will only look into the matter for the purposes of the Representation of People Act. Citizenship will have to be proved by the person concerned in a different forum. If the person cannot establish that the person holds an Indian citizenship, they have no right to contest an election. Right of permanent residence does not give you that authority. And the last and most significant is citizenship comes to you by diverse routes. Amnesty is not one. Take, for example, what happens in the Northeast, which is flooded with this problem. In Assam, Bengal, or Meghalaya, the influx of refugees from Bangladesh has been a major problem. It has been a matter which has been engaging the attention of the Supreme Court also. I think Mr. Hegde knows better about this than I do. So therefore, if you have this problem on a national level, you have got to examine it on a totally different platform other than confining it to a Jammu and Kashmir problem or the like. You've got to look at this on an all-India pattern as to how do you solve this problem where people have come up with bogus Aadhaar cards, bogus documentations, bogus voters cards, and included their names in the electoral rolls. So all these issues now suddenly, to my mind, have become very wide issues which must be looked into by the government of India on a very, very different pattern.
Okay,
Settle
because
your
you
norms.
raised this point, yes. Because you raised this point, Mr. Kailash Vasudev, just as a follow-up thought, under the new two laws that have been brought in and under the Citizenship Amendment Act that has been brought in, if this lady was of another religion and even from POK, her life would have, the problems would have been solved immediately.
Correct.
But she can't take benefit of that because she isn't one of those 6 religions.
That's right. So therefore, you see, the situation needs a holistic view now. In the instance of these few ladies or these few persons whose very nomination has been challenged, it is for the government, it is for the Election Commission to take a call on the validity of the nomination, and thereafter for the government of India to take a stand as to how these people manage to fill in the nominations based on permanent residence.
Okay, this is going to be interesting, because at this point what we are looking at is first the Election Commission has to establish whether these ladies do have valid citizenship documents, if ever after they came here under that scheme in 2010, in the last 10 years, we managed to give them that citizenship. If not, how were they functioning for so long? How is it that they managed to enter the political system, contest elections, file their nominations, travel back to Pakistan allegedly with a passport if the citizenship isn't on paper to show for? And once that is clear, then the Election Commission will have to decide what to do with these the polling that has already taken place, whether to countermount them or how else to proceed. And outside of that, this may also become a big tricky point for the government to look into if there are many of these women out there in Kashmir who came here as part of the rehabilitation scheme and still haven't been given a citizenship in our country. I'm out of time, but Najmu Saqib, you wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Our only appeal is that people should not be denied their right to representation. There are a lot of people because now that the future of this election or the polling is or the counting is uncertain. We certainly hope that a decision is taken sooner so that people get their representatives and the daily governance issues are resolved at the earliest. That's our only appeal.
But will you be able to shed light on how many of these people who came in during this, when this scheme was announced, were over the years when you were in power actually given citizenship?
I am not exactly privy, with all the details. I will have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure as of now.
Okay, we have, of course, a lot of questions, and I think it will take us, even like the Election Commission, it will also take us a lot more digging to do to find out what really happened there. I also have, as I thank our other panelists who've been with us so far, I also have Mr. Qureshi, former CEC, joining us. He wanted to also share his views on this as he found out that we were having this conversation. Always good to have you with us, Dr. Qureshi. Your view on why this is a little complicated and Election Commission seems to be taking time before coming out with the final decision.
The one rule which is clear is that a voter has to be a citizen. Now, the dispute here is what is the citizenship status of these guys we are discussing, because Kashmir has a special history. There is a history with the POK. So, what is their citizenship status? I just briefly heard Mr. Vasudev saying that PR is not the same thing as citizenship. He is absolutely correct. You have to be a citizen. Now, the second issue is, what if it is proved that they are not citizens and their nomination was illegal? What are the options? I don't know whether this has been discussed in the last half an hour or not. I see two options. One, that you declare the votes obtained by the illegal candidate as invalid and proceed with the rest of the counting. That's easy and convenient, but at the same time, legally may not be very sound, because it implies that suppose I voted for the number one illegal candidate, and it automatically my vote cannot go to number two. I may have opted for number 5. So ideal solution is another election, and which has happened in the past. It is not just in Kashmir. It has happened in the past once or twice. We had the candidates from Nepal. In fact, there were 1 or 2 candidates who completed the term in parliament, and we got to know about their citizenship status later. So, but if the nomination is illegal, ideal solution is another election.
So you said this has happened in the past, Dr. Qureshi, but can you remember an instance where it would have happened because the candidate who actually fought election wasn't a citizen of our country, that we reached the point where elections were campaigned for and elections were polling was held, and on the day of the counting we figured this out?
That this is not the first time this has happened. We have had a couple of cases, as I mentioned, in the context of Nepali citizens, and there have been 1 or 2 cases where illegal nominations were accepted wrongly by the returning officer, and the solution was another election.
From your experience, is there usually a tougher and a higher level of scrutiny that has to be done, especially in sensitive states like Jammu and Kashmir, where there is a lot of cross-border movement?
Not really, but in the context of election, all the power is with the returning officer.
Yeah.
Not even with the Election Commission. Returning officers have power directly given to them by law as quasi-judicial authorities, and nobody can tell them what to do. Even Election Commission cannot tell them how to decide. They can, it can go into the High Court and election petition, or Election Commission, suppose the Election Commission find the action of RO as illegal and mala fide, they can suspend him, they can transfer him, but they cannot ask him to change the order. The order is quasi-judicial, and can put it upturned in an appeal with the appellate authority.
Okay, well, we'll wait and watch what happens, but it was great to have you and, of course, our other experts earlier as well. Thank you, Dr. Qureshi, for joining us, with your quick insights as well. So, the future of two ladies hangs in balance, and it remains to be seen if they're able to prove whether or not they are actually Indian citizens now legally on paper. Yes, they may have come into our country in 2010 under the then scheme that was announced by the government, the rehabilitation scheme, and people came from multiple points of entries. Whether or not they came in as per the procedure, they had the necessary documents, and then in due course of time were given the citizenship of our country. That's under question. It is unprecedented that polling in two constituencies has been put on hold, in two councils has been put on hold on the day of counting, because we found out that there is a complaint which says, well, look into their citizenship. They came from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. One of them is actually from Karachi. Can they be contesting elections in our country, even if it is the DDC polls? A lot for the Election Commission to look into, and many answers for the returning officer of that area. Two different councils, two different ladies, same issue. We'll keep you updated on this very interesting set of developments that have happened in Jammu and Kashmir for the DDC polls.